I changed some revenue from the expenses, so.
Just to make sure that I do it twice so that I make sure I don't forget. Oh. It's 6:30, so I'd like to call a meeting to order. The Township of Black River Matheson acknowledges the Abitibi Anacenepec Nation traditional territory. We live, play, and work here together, and together we shall build a strong and inclusive community. Just a reminder to all in attendance, that council meetings are recorded and made available to the public on the township website for review. And the first item is with confirmation of the agenda. I guess we need a mover and a seconder. Could I have a mover and a seconder? I've got Councillor Drewer and Councillor DeMarkey.
Read the motion.
Please, Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor DeMarkey, that the agenda for the regular council meeting of January 26, 2023 be approved as printed.
Yes, Councillor DeMarkey.
I have an addition to it. I think we'd go under 7I, I guess,
An addition or a change or?
an addition first. And then a change.
Is it?
It's just for discussion, for the Black Bear Road flooding.
I assume we could probably entertain that.
And also under 7E, your worship. I'm struggling with that one. I was going to delete it. I put a motion in. It's for the food recycle. And I think I would like to bring it forward because the rest of the council, except for Dave, I think, know nothing about this food recycler. So I'd like to bring it back, or at least for discussion, so that they know what it's about.
Well, when we get there, we can, if you're leaving it in place. When we get there, we'll have that discussion.
Okay, thank you.
And any other errors or omissions on the agenda? No, I see none. Madam Clerk, all good?
Yes,
All those in favor?
Mr. Mayor, can I reread the
Oh.
motion?
Yes, please.
It was moved by Councillor
Since we
Drewer.
have it.
Yes, and seconded by Councillor DeMarkey, that the agenda for the regular council meeting of January 26, 2023 be approved as amended.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I forgot that we had amended it. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Thank you. Item 3, anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest and or general nature thereof? Seeing none? Move on. And we can find our engineer. Okay. Item 4A, minutes of a regular council meeting held January the 10th, 2023. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Diamond, seconded by Councillor Rondo.
I'll read the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please, Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Diamond, seconded by Councillor Rondo, that the following minutes are hereby adopted. Minutes of the regular council meeting held January 10th, 2023.
Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Next item is 5A. Or it's our consent agenda.
So I'll need a mover and a seconder, Mr. Mayor.
Moving a seconder, moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor Gary.
I'll read the motion.
Please, Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor Gattery, be it resolved that the consent agenda items as listed on the January 26, 2023 council agenda be received as the motions contained therein be approved and recorded as listed below.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any, yes, Councillor Diamond?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I pull 5A out?
Yes, you may. You don't need to move to move it, so-
No, you don't need that.
Cover that one, that one was to move,
Yeah, I'll reread the motion, Mr. Mayor,
Please.
when we're done.
please.
I thought Councillor Drewer had her hand up.
No, okay,
So I'll reread the
Please.
motion. Before I do though, so 5D is going to be reflected then on the agenda under reports as 8B.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, I'll reread the motion.
Please.
Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor Gattery. Be resolved that the consent agenda items as listed on the January 26, 2023 council agenda be received except item 5D, as the motions contained therein be approved and recorded as listed below.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. And we'll move to 5B.
That's
Oh, sorry.
7A. We just did the consent agenda.
Oh, yeah, we covered it all. Sorry.
Yes. Did you do that?
I always forget the whole consent agenda covered it all. No delegation, so you're right. It's item 7A. Do we have our engineer?
So,
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, so on your agenda, items 7A, 7B, and 7C require the presence of our engineer, Neil Morris. He's yet to connect to the Zoom. So, Mr. Mayor and members of council, if we could continue with the agenda as presented, and once he joins us, we resume 7A, B, and C.
Sounds like a really good plan. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. AB, it's there. We didn't lose it. Somebody's keeping track of us.
So then, Mr. Mayor,
7D.
7B.
Yeah, we'll move on to 7D and we'll go back to A, B, and C once our engineer joins us. 7D is regarding all generator installation report and budget approval. Have a motion?
Yes, I do.
Moving to seconder, Councillor Neal and Councillor Gattery. Would you please read the motion, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Councillor Neal and seconded by Councillor Gattery that council postpone the purchase of generators for each municipal hall for 2023 and reassess the purchases of the generators in conjunction with the Vern Miller Memorial Arena grant.
Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor DeMarque.
Even though I was gonna shoot my face off on that one.
You're allowed.
I don't know if it's a great idea, but financially, it's a great idea. Safety wise, I'm not 100% sold on it because, like I said before, I had calls when we had our power out for a couple of days. People wondering if they could use the hall to stay warm, and I said, sure, go ahead, there's no power and no heat. So that's what the generator's for. We only had one company come back with a price rate. And they were priced out at the same price for all four. Which is not right, I don't think, because it depends on what's in the different buildings, like the arena is obviously going to use more than the Chilton Community Center or the other community centers.
Madam Clerk, I know you wanted to expand on this. if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So, Mr. Mayor and members of council, so when we did the exercise to get a quote for council, so the deputy treasurer had contacted a few contractors. The two of the contractors actually wanted to go into each hall and do, if you will, an inspection of each hall to give a quote. But what we were looking for was just general information to give council an idea, a broad idea of what this could potentially cost. Should council move forward with this, we'd follow our procurement policy and issue a tender. And then they would come in and do the inspection and provide a bid. So this was just, we're trying to just provide you the information for you to decide whether or not you want to continue down this avenue.
And just for council's benefit, I concur with Councilor DeMarchi that it is a safety issue to an extent, but we do, correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Clerk, we do have, do we not have a few portable emergency generators within the municipality for that purpose, like on an emergency basis? Yes, Madam Clerk.
And I do believe that the fire department has a generator that we can use, but apart from that, I'm not familiar. I know the municipal office has a generator. And that's all I'm aware of.
And the reason I was bringing that up is I thought somebody had mentioned Public Works had 2 or 3 generators over there that could be utilized, but I'm not sure. Yes,
And again, Mr. Mayor, they could, I'm just not aware.
and yes, Councilor.
Just a question regarding the price of the estimated price of 25,000 per generator. Do we know what the watts output was? How many amp service that was for 25,000?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
No, I don't have that information, Councilor Neal.
Yeah, and you're exactly correct. Like, it's fine to say that you got a big enough generator to run the furnace and the lights, but do you have enough to do any food preparation or anything else? And most of those halls would probably require a 20 or 25, probably 20 kilowatt. But anyway, yes, Councilor DeMarchi.
Through your worship, Michelle Plur was talking to Margaret Puska from the hall. And he said for the Shillington Hall, it would require 300 amps, is it? I'm not an electrician, but anyway, to run the lights and the furnace. But if we wanted to use the kitchen, it would have to be more amperage.
And I don't want to question what Mr. Plurd may have said to you, but so those numbers are definitely wouldn't be correct, but there could have been some miscommunication too. Like each one of those halls is going to require, be just like you have up at the church, Councilor Neal, something that provides about 100 amps of, well, basically 100 amps of power. And I mean, I know most of those halls with that, you'd be able to run your heat, your lights and your stove. Okay. So you'd be in pretty good shape. But anyway, the question right now is the motion we have in front of us. If council has anything else to comment. We need to remove read it completely, so we should do. Does everybody remember the motion, or we babbled too long?
I can read if council.
Please
wants me to
reread it one more time, please. Just so everybody's clear about what they're voting on.
So it was moved by Councilor Neal and it was seconded by Councilor Gattery that council postponed the purchase of generators for each municipal hall for 2023 and reassess the purchase of generators in conjunction with the Vern Miller Memorial Arena Grant.
Expanding that.
I'd actually prefer if the CAO.
Or the
expanded on it.
CEO, Chris, could you just explain why we've added that in with the arena? You can earn your bucks.
With the work that we're doing with the Vern Miller, part of it is a solar solution that's going to be installed there on a net metering basis. The other thing that I talked with the group about was installing a generator just in case everything failed and we need to use that. They estimate the generator to run the complete community center about $65,000. And we're hoping that if we do that, that's going to be able to fit in with the funding we've already received. Having said that, I thought what we might do is talk to the company that we're working with and get them to visit the hall, make an estimation and come back and let us know on their dime. In other words, we spent a lot of money with them. Maybe they can visit the halls and come back and let us know what we actually need there.
At least give us some engineering solutions.
Yeah.
Technical solutions.
Yeah. And then at that point, we could do the RFPs and put it up there.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. Any other questions or concerns regarding the motion? Yes, Mr. Markey, one more time.
Your worship. We have that grant, do we?
Well, we have the grant for the arena, right?
And
So,
also we're going to combine this with. the-
well, we're hoping that, that we can squeeze the generator in. I don't know what the bottom line price is gonna be on the solar solution yet, so I'm kind of waiting. We should have that next couple of days, so I'll know better then. If we don't have enough money to do the generator, then we have to rethink the generator at the community center. But I think, as you correctly indicated, that these are emergency measure issues, right? So we should be doing it, looking at it, but I'd feel better if we had one group that looked at all of them, and just said, this is what you're looking at, this is what you need. You need changes in the panels, whatever the type of fuel. You know, some places might be okay for natural gas, for example, the arena. Other places may not, so we have to decide on that. There's a difference in pricing too.
Can we keep feelers out for 2023 instead of saying?
Well, I guess that's what I'm suggesting, is that when they do the work, we can bring that back, whether that's before budget time or after budget time. To me, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is, and council can take that on at the time the information comes from.
And if I wouldn't mind, if you don't mind, if I would just add, like, I think the whole idea was, the request was made to look at the need, look at the requirements to do the work or whatever. And since we don't have all the information before us, I think, well, that's the reason for the motion in the form, the motion in the form it's in now is so that we can also piggyback it on the cost side and knowledge side. So that would give us more time to actually plan for a proper retrofit.
You
That's
could,
just my thoughts. Yes,
sorry,
Chris?
you could include it in the budget on a conditional basis. Right, so that we don't have the authority to go ahead and purchase it until that information comes back. It's just a placeholder, really, is what it is.
So we can still entertain the same motion, though. It'll be just basically the same motion. and
Well,
We can bring it back.
The
And
clerk would have to change the motion slightly to include it in the budget on a conditional basis.
what would council wish to do? Any other comments? Mover and seconder, would you be okay with a change to it, or would you? Yes, Councilor.
As to your worship, as to the wording of the original,
Motion.
motion, when it talked about reassessment, that's can be continued in 2023. Is that not correct? So is it, my question then, your worship, is there a need to change our original amendment?
Personally, I don't think so, but that may not fit with everybody else's views.
Okay.
But I would tend to agree that this doesn't stop us from continuing forward with looking at the situation and making a plan, and if we come back with proper information at that point in time, then we could probably readdress the issue, right? I believe. Correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes,
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns on the motion? If not, then I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor?
I'd like a recorded vote, your worship.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor Markey. Councilor Markey is,
so actually for recorded vote, Mr. Mayor, the clerk's responsible for it. So I'll go one by one and then
Thank
I'll
you.
let you read out the results.
thank you.
Counselor Rondo, how do you vote? Yay or nay? Yay. Counselor Neal, how do you vote? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Counselor Diamond, how do you vote? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Counselor DeMarkey, how do you vote? Yay or nay?
Nay.
Counselor Gattery, how do you vote? Yay or nay? Yay. And Counselor Drewer, how do you vote? Yay or nay? Yay. And Mayor Bender, how do you vote? Yay or nay?
Yeah,
So Mayor Bender, the yays have it.
thank you. We have a recorded vote. We have one against and 6-4. So the motion has passed in its form, and I don't think anybody, I think everybody agrees with the situation that these generators are something that's going to be required at some point in time. Just once we get things sorted out properly, it'll be a good time to do it. And hopefully, like Chris has mentioned, and Cassandra's also mentioned, that we can piggyback it with some of our other funding and stuff and help out our budget situation. Thank you, council, for your input. Yes, we're into 7E, correct?
Yes.
No. Yes, 7E. 7E is a request from Councillor DeMarchi for a motion to reconsider the foods cycler report. You have a motion?
So, Mr. Mayor, when
Yes.
there's a motion to reconsider, you have to ask that specific counselor if they can affirm publicly that they voted with the majority vote on the original motion.
Councillor DeMarchi, can you affirm that you did vote with the majority of council?
Yes, it is.
So then based on that, Mr. Mayor, Councillor DeMarchi would be the mover of the motion. We would need a seconder for the motion.
To be considered? Councillor Brewer?
So council, what you're voting on tonight is you're just voting to reopen the original motion. You won't be debating it tonight. It'll be brought back at the February 14th meeting. So can I read the motion, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
It was moved by Councillor DeMarchi and seconded by Councillor Drewer. That council approved to reconsider motion 2023-04, which is the Food Cycler Program Report EA-OT 2023-002, as permitted under section 2.21 of the procedural bylaw by a 2/3 majority vote. And that the original motion will be scheduled to appear on the February 14th, 2023 regular council meeting agenda.
All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Yeah. Didn't surprise me too bad. 7F is Integrity Commissioner training scheduling. We have to, we want to address that or get a motion? Eh?
There's a motion, yes.
Yes, need a mover and a seconder for a motion here. Councillor DeMarchi and seconded by Councillor Neal. Please read the motion.
Moved by Councillor DeMarchi and seconded by Councillor Neal. That council approve of the following date and time for Integrity Commissioner training with HG Elston. Sure, I can.
If you don't mind, Madam Clerk, we just expand on this to explain to everybody else what you've already explained to me.
So part of council orientation is also for council to be trained on the Integrity Commissioner and Integrity Commissioner protocols. Council's Integrity Commissioner is HG Elston. And it'd be good for him to educate council on code of conduct and of course municipal conflict of interest. So it's important for council to be trained on these matters. And of course, when reaching out to him, he did provide the dates that obviously are in the memo, which is February 14th, 15th, 16th, or 17th. And he had mentioned that the training would be an hour and a half, and he preferred it in the morning.
Fourteenth is myself, I think, you know.
14th is it, so that's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or
Or
Friday.
Friday. So we're looking at a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. There's a preferred day. Every day is bad, right?
My schedule's not out, so I can't go ahead and.
Just pick something.
Yeah, the 16th is,
Count.
I can,
Yes, Councillor Gatter, you can't on the 16th?
no,
Okay, so Councillor Gatter is unavailable and Councillor Rondo was not sure of whether she would be available. Let's leave that date away. Yes, Councillor DeMarchi.
I'm good with 15.
Everybody else on, yes, Councillor Gatter?
Good, 15, 16, 17.
So it sounds like the 15th is a reasonable day, which would be the Wednesday, correct?
Yes, yes.
We can add that in. One, I might as well reread it or at least a big portion of it,
I
please.
will. If I can, Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
So a council on February 15th, then what we're going to do is staff has one final presentation to make to council about overall municipal operations. We'll do it on this same day.
Do you expect much time involved in that?
That presentation,
Yes.
maybe an hour.
Okay, so that's, I was just trying to get a bit of a ballpark.
and it would be morning, correct?
Yes.
In the morning, or what time do you think?
6.
Yeah.
We're thinking five.
I'm I'm not.
Start at 9 a.m.
Sure, yeah, 9 a.m.
I can,
Sounds good.
thanks, Cass.
Moved by Counselor DeMarchi and seconded by Counselor Neal, that council approve of the following date and time for Integrity Commissioner training with HG Elston, February 15th, 2023 at 9 a.m.
Thank you very much, Cass. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carry. Guess we'll move on. That's why it's okay. So we're gonna move to item G. And we have a. It's a janitorial report. Madam Clerk,
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there is a motion for that report.
mover and a seconder. I've got Counselor Gaddery and Counselor DeMarchi.
Can I read the motion,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
please.
Was moved by Counselor Gaddery, seconded by Counselor DeMarchi, that council directs staff to proceed with the advertising and hiring of a part-time municipal custodian as per report CTA 2023-02.
And that report was in the package, and is there any questions, concerns, or discussion required? All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Nice, well,
Oh, yeah.
should have been about, right? What's item G then?
So you're on item H right now.
Okay,
So
sorry,
H,
sorry,
no, it's not good.
I missed it. So we're going to item H, budget guideline report.
No, I just need a mover and a seconder. Mr.
Mover
Mayor.
and seconder again, Counselor Brewer and Counselor Diamond.
Can I read the
Yes,
motion?
please, Madam Clerk.
Was moved by Counselor Drewer and seconded by Counselor Diamond, that council acknowledge the receipt of the budget guideline report CTT 2023-03 as per the municipal budget policy for the 2023 budget year. And that council direct the treasurer to move forward with building the 2023 budget and subsequent years using the items in the corporate wide assumptions and conditions section listed in report CTT 2023-03. And finally, that council directs the treasurer to continue to develop the 2023 municipal operating budget and include the following items.
I believe there was a little schedule there of items that we were asked if we were willing to consider or not, correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So in the report, it's the conditions and assumptions section. And if council adopts the report as presented without any adjustments, those assumptions and conditions will be applied to the budget, and that's how the budget will be presented to council.
Including the items in that one spreadsheet.
Yes, so including the items, are you talking about the items that haven't been adjusted for?
Well, I actually was, there was a little Excel sheet there. We're talking about the worker bee budget and all the rest.
Yes.
Those items will all be included.
Yes, if council does not change any portion of this report, all
Okay.
those items will be included in your baseline budget.
Any discussions required this, or is everyone in favor of the motion as it is? Well, if there's no discussions, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Before,
Oh, sorry, Madam Clerk.
if I can, Mr. Mayor. So council, if you don't change the report, again, everything in it will be presented to you as your baseline budget. By passing this report tonight, it does not mean you are accepting any of the costs. It just means you're accepting the fact that I present the budget to you with these assumptions and conditions.
And then we're gonna take a look at it on an overall basis. Not line by line by line. We're just gonna look at the overall budget proposal and make a decision. Yes, Madam Clerk.
So how the budget will be presented to council will be on a summary basis, so by department, and you'll have previous year's actual and budget figures to be able to review and compare against 2023 figures. We shouldn't always though base the current year's figures based on historical, because obviously you're basing your budget based on what you want to happen in the future, not what happened in the past. But at least it gives you a bit of a variance. So if there's a large variance, it kind of triggers council to ask questions about that specific department.
Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if we were. Or at this point, if I wanted to remove 2 items out of the budget items, do we bring it up now
Yes,
or,
if there are items that are part of this report, yes.
Yeah. okay?
Yeah, are specific items, Councillor Diamond, that you would like us to add for the Madam Clerk here, Cassandra, not to include in her budget plans?
Yeah, would be the hospital utility rebate and the worker bee contribution.
Are there any other items that anyone else would like for us to add to this list that what the whole plan here is that Cassandra isn't including items in the budget that we have to go and take out. Like, it's not saying nothing can ever change, it's just that these are highlighted items that we should be addressing now. Yes, Councilor Markey.
Through your worship to Madam Treasurer, the money bag holder. Down the road, we can make changes, right? Like if we want to pull something
Oh,
out
yeah.
down the road, there's,
Yes, Cass.
Nothing is set in stone tonight. All you are doing is providing me guidelines on how you want me to present your budget from a cost perspective. That's it. Once I present it, then we can continue the discussions. And even at that point, you can add items back in or remove them, but at least I have now a framework as to how to build it.
And this helps by eliminating the high end items that are of a concern, so that they're not a bunch of time spent addressing the cost of them, correct?
Yes.
Any other discussion regarding this? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Oh,
Mr.
sorry. Yes, Madam Treasurer.
I think it'd be important to read the motion
Oh,
because
sorry, yeah, because we did make some amendments. I apologize. Please, if you don't mind.
moved by Councillor Druer, seconded by Councillor Diamond, that council acknowledge the receipt of the budget guideline report CTT 2023-03 as per the municipal budget policy for the 2023 budget year. And that council direct the treasurer to move forward with building the 2023 budget and subsequent years using the items in the corporate wide assumptions and conditions section listed in report CTT 2023-03, excluding the hospital utility rebate and excluding the worker bee contribution. And finally, that council directs the treasurer to continue to develop the 2023 municipal operating budget and include the following items.
Thank you. Madam Treasurer, you were the clerk, now you're the treasurer right now. Anyway. Now, if there's no further discussion, now I will call for that vote again. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. I guess we're already up to 80 or, oh, so is that 7?
Yeah, Councillor DeMarchi added this item.
Okay, that we added that in 7.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've had the addition to our agenda here from Councillor DeMarchi regarding the Black Bear Road flooding.
worship, she had her hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Is this when I was supposed to?
Mhm.
Like, since it's been adopted and approved that the treasurer can build a budget, I'd like to table a motion that we approve to hire a bylaw officer.
Oh, really? Did we not, you're gonna put a motion together for that?
Well,
Or
Councillor,
just to consider it, I guess, basically, it's not a motion to actually hire somebody, it's a motion to consider it in our budget discussions, correct?
No, it's already in the budget.
Yes, Cass.
so Mr. Mayor, Councillor Rondo has put a motion on the table. Councillor Rondo, the motion on the table, what is it that you wanted to read?
That we approve to hire a bylaw officer
Yes, yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Rondo, so we've just passed a report that allows me to build a budget with the bylaw officer. You are now wanting to table a motion to approve of hiring and approving those costs?
Yes,
Prior to a budget.
yes.
So in order for this to go any further, Mr. Mayor, we do need a seconder.
So, okay, we've got Councilor Jordan.
Sure.
I'd like to hear from our CAO on this, just as a question, because I think he has some comments.
So probably about everybody here, I'm more in favor of this than anybody. I might suggest, Councilor Rondo, that you change your motion to request a staff report that comes back indicating, number one, the costs, potential revenues that we could raise. The other thing is that my thought is that we combine the position with CBO,
And what is CBO?
chief building official, of which we currently contract the services from the city of Timmins. They're pretty expensive. And we raise about, well, last year, about 33% more revenue than what we got charged for. So there could be a potential here when you combine it with fines to actually have that whole position paid for without
Yeah,
affecting the levy. So I guess what I'm asking is just give us an opportunity to put a report together
Yeah.
with all the facts, because I'm totally in favor of what you're saying.
we're in dire need of one
Yeah.
because things have been going on, like, yeah, that need to be rectified ASAP.
And realistically, doing it that way gives us time to actually vote on facts and figures and numbers, and gives everybody, although even though money is very important, sometimes money can't be the only issue we have to deal with. We have to deal with doing things right.
Well, and we
So-
have huge concerns right now in Hall Tire that if we're in dire need of a bylaw officer because something bad is about to happen structurally. And yeah, it needs to be like, we need somebody ASAP.
And
Raymore is the same way.
I think the whole community, if I don't mind me commenting to council, the whole community could definitely use that position. I know I've discussed this at length with Chris, our CAO, and I understand some of his items that he can bring forward to help us, actually help us out and make the decision even easier, but and the two items do actually go pretty well hand in hand. I know in the past it's worked well, and the position would be,
Is it not too much for one person to take on between like taking care of building codes and all that stuff and then having to deal with bylaws as well? Like,
No, I don't think so. I think, as his worship said, that the two positions quite often feed
Yeah.
off each other in a lot of smaller communities. But there are other aspects. There are opportunities to gain additional funding to get this position approved. That might help the budget
yeah,
in addition to getting us what we need. For the sake of, what is it, another 10 days before we come back to council. It might be,
Yeah.
you'll have a better perspective
sure.
on it, I think, once you have all those facts.
I
I think it'll strengthen your position, actually.
okay.
seen Councilor DeMarco had his hand up. Yes, Councilor DeMarco.
Through your worship, CEO. Has the CBO been approached at all on this?
You mean
Is he aware?
take the position?
Yeah.
No.
In any discussion?
No, I haven't talked to him about it. His boss knows that this is something that we might do. I don't think the CBO is gonna be upset. He could actually apply for the position. It's possible. So, you gotta remember that he's only here a couple of days a week.
As required.
Yeah, so, we're hoping to accentuate that program with the CBO on board here in Blackbird. So, but I'll let him know that this report's gonna come on in 10 days or so, next meeting, just so he's aware of it. To be fair.
Is there any other discussions or questions? So we can, yes, Councilor Gordon.
Through you, your worship, it's been brought to my attention by a few residents of Raymore. They're asking when is anything going to happen with the old fire hall? Because they're having to clean their yards of debris that's falling off of the old fire hall. And they want to know what are we going to do about it?
I think-
And another thing is. We have to do something about property maintenance. People are not, they're. A lot of people in Raymore are complaining. Because now their property values are dropping because of their neighbors, the way their neighbors are maintaining their yards. And we do have a bylaw for that. There should be something done.
But no officer to enforce it.
And that is the reason that we're gonna entertain this so that we can actually make it happen. And as, if respectfully, as the CEO has mentioned, I don't think 10 days is gonna
No.
make this much better or worse.
No.
So at least it'll give staff time to bring back some more information, even by then, even better information that we might be even happier with our decision at that time.
Now, the fire hall, does the township still own that fire hall?
Yes.
Is there a date or a plan on what's going to happen with that?
Oh, yes. Chris.
So it's a good question, and one of which I've been asked before. So we're currently putting together an RFP to hire an organization to come in and remove it. That part of that's going to require a designated substance study too, to make sure there's no asbestos or other nasties in there. That's all part of the package. So, I can't give you a date when we'll put the RFP out. All I can say is it's going to be in the next probably couple of weeks. It's not, sometimes not an easy thing to do RFPs, right? So especially one that's so specialized, but yeah, I'd like to see it come down to absolutely. So
Thank you.
I'll make sure that I keep track of it in my monthly report, just so you're aware of what's going on.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Any other further discussion on this? If not, then I'll ask Cass to please read the motion. See if everybody's happy.
Yes, so council, the motion's been done on the fly. If you don't like the wording, just let me know. Moved by Councillor Rondo and seconded by Councillor Drewer, that council directs staff to bring back a report which details out the responsibility and cost towards the immediate hiring of a combined position of CBO bylaw for the February 14th, 2023 regular council meeting.
Yes, Chris.
Just one other thing, Councillor Drewer, you had mentioned about the property standards, and I agree wholeheartedly. We've got problems in every hamlet. We've got problems on the highway. The other thing to remember is that it's a lot easier for us to do that if we clean up our own backyard. And when I say that, our own properties. For example, in Holtire, we have a pile of properties there that we own. We don't maintain them. And people have thus far, then they start using them themselves. So we've got to, if we're going to tell people, clean up your properties, then we've got to make that effort too. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody here that would disagree with that.
Absolutely.
It will be something that we will be looking at as well. And we may not get all of them, but at least we can start and people can see that.
But isn't that part of the local council's responsibility to do a cleanup day?
No, it's the mayor's.
I figured that's just Councilor Rondo. I think probably take all of us for a few of them, eh? Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that input, Chris, and I agree wholeheartedly. Yes, Councilor Nick.
Your worship, the question is, the CAO regarding the land that is the township owns, is it used land or is it just vacant land?
No, it's vacant, but
So
there's
this-
servicing going to it in this example, in the one with fire. We have water and sewer servicing going to those lots.
90% of the vacant lots in Hallfire were service lots because they all had at one point or another a house built on them.
Can they be sold?
Yep, they're we already declared them surplus, so we can sell them.
Thank you.
The only, sorry, Councilor Neal, the only problem with them is that they, in terms of our current zoning bylaw, the lots aren't big enough to put a full house on it. And it's very easy to do a deeming bylaw, put two of them together and sell as one so that a house can be constructed there. But I can't think of a better way to sell them to make them look attractive.
Yes, Cass.
If I can, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
through to Councilor Neil, with regards to the surplus property that the township owns, the municipality owns, we do have a running record, if you will, of what those properties are, and it is available to the public. So upon request, we'll provide that list to the public.
And I know in the past, there was a developer actually had shown interest in doing something in Holtire, and I know our CAO has already investigated other opportunities, and whenever that information becomes proper and available, council will hear about it, and it will help solve a lot of
A
these.
lot of it,
Yes,
yeah.
so No changes to the motion as it is, no other discussion, I'll ask,
Just a suggestion, as you were saying, the property cleanup for the township, if they brought back this spring control burn, that'll clean up your properties, no problem with they used to years ago. Every
that-
spring they did a controlled burn
Fire
from all the
department
vacant
was
lots
involved.
and it kept everything so nice and clean.
We can talk to the chief about that.
Councilor Rondo used to be a fireman, fire person.
Yeah.
Was a fireman. Sorry, Councilor Rondo. Anyway, if there's no further discussion, I'll ask for, oh, sorry, Councilor Markey.
Through your worship. Just a question, does our liability insurance cover these properties if anything happens on them? Yes.
It does.
Thank you for the question. No further discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. I know, you're gonna do that, we'll fix that tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah. So now, Mr. Mayor, is Councillor DeMarquis item that he.
Okay, yeah, we keep forgetting to going back. Councilor DeMarkey keeps me on my toes. Item 7I or.
My job.
Yeah, 7I. Regarding the Black Bear Road flooding, I assume you must have something you wish to address council regarding that, Councilor DeMarkey?
Yes, your worship. I got the floor?
Yes, you do. Yes, of course.
Yeah, on January the 10th agenda, like I couldn't talk, so I had this all written out for January the 10th, but I lost my voice, so I got it back.
Darn.
We discussed implementing bylaw 2023-05 management program and emergency response plan, which covers emergency management and civil protection. 100%, I support that bylaw. I do also support residents in my ward. And I've been approached with a cry for help because nobody was helping these people out, and the people is Albert Royer and Jeanette Romoweski. Their two properties got flooded out, and I believe we've seen, I don't know if the mayor's seen it, but did a video of that. And it was pretty bad, like it happened during the night. And the water came right up to their house. And he had to go out with hip waders on and rescue pails of oil and stuff that were going into the river. And the result was from opening the dam and water bag, which is not our territory, I realize that, it's M&R from Kirkland Lake. And what I'm asking for is that it's a request to invite M&R to a council meeting so that we can discuss safety protocol when they open the dam. Apparently, they opened it when we had all that rain just recently, and the combination of the water coming out is to maintain a 21-inch level of water in the Waterbag Lake for the cottagers. And those cottagers on Waterbag Lake aren't taxpayers for Black River Malison. But these properties that are flooding out when they open them up they're in my ward. I was a little upset. You guys corrected me on this. Because I wasn't approached, and this is my ward. I wasn't informed about the flood. It was the Albert Royer that was at one of our meetings, and he found out that I was looking after the ward. And so I went down the next day, and he was thankful that somebody finally showed up to look at what the problem was. And he had talked to I got the name, Mike, somebody,
Mizuki.
what is it?
Mizuki, I think.
Yeah, Mazzetti. And there was another one, Albert, no. Anyway, the guy that opens the dam, Mike is in charge of Kirkland Lake, M&R, and he's the guy I'd like to see come to a meeting. So what I'm asking for, to cut it short, can we request that they come to a meeting and give us a scoop on the dam opening? Because it's affecting Black River Meadows.
I'll definitely let Chris or Cassandra expand on that. I do know that they have been in discussions to see about doing almost exactly that. but Chris can probably give us a better answer than I can.
Yeah, I had sent an email to. I don't know who, I can't remember who it was, somebody at the M&R, and I expressed our frustration with what had happened. And I added to that flooding is becoming a common occurrence here. We don't have the information on how the flooding works, including the rivers, when there's dams. We need the help from the M&R, so I suggested that. Is there not a way that we can work together? The response was yes. And that they would be willing to work with the staff and also the emergency management group and also come and talk to them. So they were supposed to get back to me with the date. They haven't. So now tomorrow I can light a little fire under them, see if we can do that a bit quicker. On another note, if the damage to the residents' property was pretty significant, there is a program that Municipal Affairs runs where there can be some monies dispersed to assist them. I don't know all the details, Counselor, but I can get those for you and I'll pass them on to you as well. Now, I'm not sure whether the township has to declare a disaster or whether it can be individual ones. This sounds like a pretty unique case. So they may, I'll see what I can do and I'll talk to Mr. Thurston.
Have you seen the video?
I haven't, I don't really remember exactly how their buildings are situated, but I know that area, the riverbanks are low, and if they're anywhere near the riverbanks and they raise the water, if they open that dam at Waterbag substantially, I can see why they would get flooded, but I don't.
And it was like one, Jeanette has been there for 30 years and has never had a problem. It's because they did it when we had all that rain.
Yeah, and that's why they did it, because they
And,
probably
like,
had
there's
to.
other tributaries going into that
Yeah.
river as well, so
Yeah.
all that water, plus opening the dam was just not a good time. So they should have some safety measures in place for that.
A valid point. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and Chris has said he's already initiated something between him and Cass, but they're gonna follow up and make sure something happens. So that and you can even let the two residents know that the staff has been working diligently in the background and nothing happens overnight, but something will come together. So at least there'll be some proper information and knowledge.
Which would be good, because he calls me about every 2 days.
He's got you on speed dial, Councilor DeMarkey?
Oh, yeah.
Good. He lost my number.
I'm getting tired of running there too. But anyway,
Does that cover your issue?
yes, it does. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you very much for bringing it forward. So now we're back to our regular agenda, back to item 9.
We're at now 8A.
Sorry, 8A. I apologize again. Lost track after that. Again. Item 8A under reports. We had year-over-year assessment growth since 2018 as requested by council. Everybody had a chance to take a look at that information that Cassandra, Madam Treasurer, has provided for us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's a motion.
There's a motion to go with it. I need a mover and a seconder, Councillor Neal and Councillor Ronda.
Can I read the motion?
Yes, please, Madam Treasurer.
It was moved by Councillor Neal and seconded by Councillor Rondo that council receive CTTM 2023 04 as information.
Any more discussion on that? Is everybody satisfied with the information that's there? Yes, Chris.
So the summary, which indicates a 5-year growth of 1.58% is pathetic. And it's a factor of the economy, COVID and everything else. There are building permits are increasing, which is good. But then if we look at things like agricultural land, a lot of it is being turned from rural, which is one type of taxation, to agriculture, which you're only getting full taxation on the house and the rest of it is at 25% of that. And that's what's really killing us. And as the farms expand, so does the area that we have to service, which means that we have to go further to do things. Just at Roma, I find out that the province has now they've given it to us again. So what they're saying now is that On agricultural land, farmers can apply to have between 10 and 30 acres, no more than 30 acres, exempt from taxation if they leave it forested. So we're gonna lose taxation there. We're gonna lose assessment there. I can understand perhaps why the province has done that. It might have to do with climate change. But on the other side of the coin, the municipalities have the authority to put in tree cutting bylaws and do that themselves without losing assessment. So I was not aware that there was any public consultation on this or consultation with municipalities. But it's gonna be a loss to us, there's no question.
And yes, Councilor Neil.
To the CEO, when I look at for the farms, they're basically the crop farmers, is that land taxed differently than like a Mennonite farm?
No.
Same
Yeah,
taxation?
farm is farm.
It's agricultural based. And I know my own comment is, no matter what happens as far as taxes or assessment or whatever, it's sure nice to see our land being used properly again.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
just a comment.
Yeah, agriculture is a huge part of our economy here,
Yes,
and it's
fantastic.
one which is gonna grow and we should embrace it. What I'm saying is, I think the province really has. They've made an error here that we're gonna be penalized for, right? On the other side of the coin. Is commercial assessment, industrial assessments not growing. And so we need to grow those two things because the tax rates that come with commercial and industrial are much higher. And that's what you use to pay for your growth with your. And so we have to make some efforts to do that. Now, we all know that we've got some things sort of on the stove that might come to fruition, and that's gonna be great. So, I think Cass has done a good job showing you what the assessment is, but at the growth rate of 1.5% is not very good at all. And it's nobody's fault, just the way it is.
Just the way the rules are followed. Yes, Councilor DeMarco.
Through your work at the CAO, don't we already have a bylaw regarding trees along roadways, municipal roadways?
No, what we did, if you remember, Counselor, is we put in a site plan review. So if somebody was building a new farm, they had to provide a site plan and they had to pass an agreement with us for a site plan. And through that site plan, we can control what they can do along the roadways, which would help, of course, snow drifting and all that type of thing. So, and I do know, I heard that there are some farmers who are actually just doing that. So, so once once new farms are developed and they apply for site plan, because they won't get a building permit without it, we'll do that. We do have a tree canopy bylaw, which was a requirement, section 270 requirement. It doesn't speak to that, however. But you can also put in a tree cutting bylaw too, in terms of trying to prevent some of that. Because there is a whole other thing. Trees are good for the environment. They're good for the soil. They're just generally good. And so we have to make sure that we maintain some of the trees, and we've got the whole thing with climate change and that type of thing as well.
What I'm getting at is if they leave the road allowance there. Do they not, they don't have to pay tax on that if it's that,
No, if it's their property, they do. Yeah, if
but
they,
you just said there, if they leave percentage of their trees.
they have to apply, but yes, 10 to 30 acres. And I don't know how the province counts that, whether they, if they had it, if it was a strip, let's say along the front of a farm, and it was 10 acres, I would think, of course, yes, it would. But if it's just like a few trees, I think that might be a little difficult for impact to try and establish what the value of that is. But who knows? I don't know all about the program. I know that the treasurer is going to be bringing a little report to council about it.
I'm just thinking if they left it 50 feet or whatever along the roadway, eventually it's gonna run into 10 acres probably.
Yeah, that's sort of my point about
They
the
should not
width.
pay tax on
Yeah,
Any other further discussion on this motion? And I'm hoping council is happy. I'd like to thank the clerk for putting the effort into getting this together for us. I know it really helps to see some numbers, and I know that we've seen an incredible growth on our agricultural land and buildings and all the rest. But at the end of the day, as we had explained, it doesn't necessarily change your overall assessment or tax assessment. But whatever, it is what it is, and we're all very happy to see things happening.
I don't know how she sleeps at night without seeing numbers in her pillow.
She does. And we've got the motion, right?
I did, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
yes.
so if there's no more further discussion on it, I'll ask for a vote on the motion. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried.
So, Mr. Mayor, the next item is the item that was removed from the
Oh, yeah, I
consent
forgot about
agenda.
that, yeah.
Yes, so that's the fire chief's monthly report.
Yeah, so under 8B, we removed that from our consent bylaw, so. We're gonna have a motion here regarding accepting the fire chief's monthly report.
I'll need a mover and a seconder, Mr. Mayor.
Moving to seconder, I have Councillor Drewer and Councillor Gadry.
Can I read the motion?
Yes, you may.
Was moved by Councillor Drewer and seconded by Councillor Gaddery. That council accept as information the fire chief's December report FC 2022 12.
Any further discussion regarding the report? Questions or concerns? If not, I'll ask for a vote. Oh, there is a question, sorry. Yes, Councillor Bannon.
I removed 8A or 5A.
I understood it as 5D.
A
Okay,
CAO.
Okay.
Sorry,
nope, it's all good.
So,
So I'm going to reread it as 5A, not 5D.
thank you. Please do.
All right, was moved by Councillor Drewer and seconded by Councillor Gaddery. That council receive as information the Chief Administrative Officer's January monthly report, CAO 2023 03.
Thank you, Councillor Bannon, for bringing that forward. Any other further discussion regarding the motion? Yes, Councillor Bannon.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the CEO, I have two questions. The funding application that you have listed on your report.
Mhm.
Even though they're dated 2022, is that still for 2023?
If there's been no decision made on them, yes.
Okay,
So, and that's very possible that they, because the government, both governments, they run with a March 31 fiscal year. And so that's usual that occurs. This list gets updated as we know more, when we get more information, so.
and my second question is regarding the police services. Still in non-compliant. What do we have to do to be compliant other than create a police services?
Okay, so they've got all the information with respect to our board. So we're compliant from that perspective.
Okay,
The delay was waiting for Iroquois Falls to respond and provide me with some information. So I have all that 2 weeks ago, filed it, ministries got it. The next thing will be Rene Paye, the detachment commander. He's suggested that we have an informal meeting with between the two mayors. And we're trying to pin down a date now. And the next move is the ministries in terms of what they do. So once we've got that from the ministry, then we'll advertise for members of the public. And the province will advertise for provincial members. Just a cautionary tale about provincial members. I've seen it take up to 3 years. Just because the ministry is so slow.
That covers your questions, Councillor Bannon?
yes,
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Councillor Bannon. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. That's another one of our good ones.
Yes.
So now I can move to item 9.
Yes,
Item 9A. It's under bylaws. It's a bylaw number 2023-009, being a bylaw to establish a recreation ad hoc advisory committee. And we need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Rondo, seconded by, Councillor Rondo and seconded by Councillor Neal. You read the motion, please, Madam Clerk.
it was moved by Councillor Rondo and seconded by Councillor Neal, that bylaw number 2023-009, being a bylaw to establish a recreation ad hoc advisory committee, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 26th day of January 2023.
Any discussion regarding that, Councillor Bannon?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, what will this advisory committee do or bring to the table that our staff recreation director can't already do? Where's the value? Where's the added value?
Did you review the terms of reference
Yep.
as? And would you speak to that, Madam Clerk? Because I mean, I have my own opinions, but did you want to speak to that or?
What I can, Mr. Mayor, if I can through you
Yes.
to you and to members of council. So this was actually a direction council provided staff. Council as a whole made the decision to potentially enact this committee. So the question being asked is more towards council than staff. Staff just followed through on a direction from council.
And Councillor Diamond, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Then my question is to, I guess, Councilor Markey, as to where do you see the added value coming to the township for this?
Well, through the mayor to you. We need things to happen in Madison as far as things for our kids to do, adults to do, whatever. And we just figured a committee would organize and plan getting things going. Like I know Councillor Neil is interested in the water park. I'm interested in a quarter-mile track, tennis court, that kind of stuff. We can look at fundraising instead of taking it out of the coffers, that type of thing. Just a committee to organize it, that's all, just kind of.
Thank you. Does that answer your question from that perspective, Councillor Diamond?
Yeah.
I know my own perspective is I had people. Once I was appointed to office, were asking me if we would be willing also to have a recreation committee, because a lot of people felt that the good old, not that it has to be just like the good old days, but the fact is if you involve more volunteers from the different areas of the community, you get a variety of ideas and not just one person's perspective on what's required. They felt that bringing some of that input in would actually help our recreational coordinator and help council, and also probably on the side of fundraising and so on, actually help us develop some facilities. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's not just taxes or grants that do things, people do things. So if we can make this, at least we can try and see if it works. If it doesn't, well. Any other comments, questions?
Good example, your worship, is the arena. It's not utilized to its full potential.
I agree.
At all. There's other things that could happen there all summer as well as in winter.
And it would be nice if the recreation coordinator had some actual help, like some of these people, I don't want a bunch of people that are just gonna sit around a table and have discussions. I want people that are really volunteers and showing enough interest. I know I've spoken to a couple of individuals from both ends of the township that have both expressed interest in being part of this committee. And both of them are either involved in recreational activities or sports, or been active in the past within the community looking after items. So that's
One of the OPP is interested in it.
so anyway, yes, Councillor Neil?
Yes, your worship. I'm just thinking again, even something that has gone really strong is pickleball. Iroquois Falls are actually building pickleball courts because they have them in both the English high school, the French school that was built. They have them in another location as well. And so again, when I look at pickleball, I was thinking even during the summer, as far as the arena usage, pickleball lines to be painted on the gym floor. Have a couple of those courts, couple of shovelboard courts for people, rain or shine. It's an accessible place for seniors, for younger people, and pickleballs. You don't have to be a great athlete to play pickleball. And so again, for a minimal membership fee, the lines are going to cost a lot. That's a low output. And I think high value kind of activity that could be inside the arena. But again, so I think there's lots of options that we bring to the table to the rec committee. Hopefully some things will be able to be accomplished.
Was there not 1 year ago since we used to have baseball fields and curling and carnivals and like.
I
We
can
had
tell
all
you,
that stuff way back in the day.
I can tell you stories from 40 years ago when I played fastball with your dad. And we were involved in different recreational activities. As a matter of fact, one of the time when I was on council way back in the day, I was a chair of the recreation committee. And the recreation committee was more of a committee of council where a lot of the ideas and discussions went on. And we actually had a full-time recreation director rather than just a recreational coordinator. But even a lot of those members of that recreation committee were active in their own communities. And ideas and issues were brought forward, and council and our recreation coordinator of the day were aware of the issues and were able to deal with it. So
Because way back when, I remember like my first job was with the township. I was a playground supervisor. Yeah, I was a school bus monitor for the swimming lessons, like that was all part of the records department, baseball, curling. Any carnivals, Matheson used to have their winter one where like we had drag race, like scooter races on the river, all that stuff like that used to happen, all that had to be part of the rec committee.
Well,
So that's just to show you what it does, it's just like they used to be
and
no golf.
and we've got a lot of new community members now that can probably bring a lot of new
There are
ideas.
a lot of young families that
Yes.
need something.
Yes, Chris.
So pickleball is an excellent idea. There's actually professional pickleball players now. Who would have thought a sport that was started out as a low impact sport for seniors, right? So it's something really good, but I know our assistant director has been working on a number of things. One thing that she's discussed with me is mini golf. So we've actually looked into some mini golf where you can put them down and take them up again. So but I'm sure she's noting some of your ideas tonight, but this is why like recreation didn't just go away.
No,
It was like some of our equipment, it was ignored and then all of a sudden we had nothing. And so now we're trying to build it back up, right? So we need the ad hoc committee to need a master plan, so then we can use the master plan to obtain funding in some cases. I like the fundraising idea, it always gets community spirit, but there's also funding opportunities too that can come to play. So I think this is an extremely important step for the township to make, particularly when COVID really destroyed all those things, from people getting together, social interactions, even things like just the beer fest and that type of thing. So I'm looking forward to see how we can make this progress.
Yes, Councilor Neil.
Yes, your worship. I just want to say thank you to the recreational person that's doing recreation right now, because it's nice to see on advertising for volleyball at the elementary
Yes.
school.
yeah,
I look at for the kids' activities. That's the first time I think I've seen that in the years I've been here where that's been organized. So I want to say a big thank you.
Absolutely.
That's awesome to see.
And the family day coloring contest where
Yeah.
the kids get to have lunch with the
Yeah,
mayor.
fantastic.
I saw that.
And they get to face paint the CAO. Anyway, yeah. Is there any other further discussion on this motion? I think we've kind of discussed it pretty well, so if everybody's okay with it, I'll move ahead and ask for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Thank you. I guess our next item is still no engineering. In short.
No.
Okay, we'll move to item 9B. It's a bylaw number 2023-004, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with His Majesty the King and right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Natural Resources. Little great. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Neil and seconded by Councillor DeMarchi.
I'll read the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Moved by Councillor Neil, seconded by Councillor DeMarchi, that bylaw number 2023-004, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Natural Resources for the purposes of a municipal forest fire management be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 26th day of January 2023.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion, questions, concerns? I know I had asked, I was a little bit confused in the beginning but this is just supposed some more housekeeping, is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So this is just a matter of renewing our agreement with the MNR for fire management.
So no changes,
Nope, none.
Councillor Markey?
All those fees and stuff we see on there, do we actually pay those fees for firefighting?
Those fees are either recuperated in some ways, yes.
I just, it's more of a question than a statement. But my understanding is that, say, for example, there was a fire that started within the township and moved up, if it moved from the township out into Crown land. And air attack was required, we could be on the hook for paying for air attack, is that true?
I don't know that for sure, Mr. Mayor, maybe the CAO does.
Yeah, Chris will answer that, he knows everything.
Not everything. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of experience with this particular issue, but that is correct. They will bill you, but this agreement is sort of like an insurance policy, but because they give you the rates in there for the different equipment and whatnot. And so rather than paying a bigger rate, they guarantee you this rate if they're needed. Now, I'm only aware of a couple of situations when they
Actually
build.
Yeah.
When I was in Walla, we had a couple of fires that they never even billed us for. But there's also a municipal component on this because there is a municipal protection area where our fire department takes care of it.
Yes.
And they get paid for it from the crown.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of give and take. The unfortunate thing, Black River Madison, because we're so large, we have so much crown land. That if it was a big fire, we could be on the hook for a big bill.
And that's where we'd be spending some time with our friends in Toronto, getting it straightened out again.
We would hope. Yes.
Yes. Any further discussion on this item? If not, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. And we'll move into item 9C. It's a bylaw to confirm participation in the OMERS pension plan. Madam Clerk, we need a mover and a seconder again. Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor DeMarchi.
I'll read the
Would you
motion.
please read the motion, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor DeMarchi, that bylaw number 2023-10 being a bylaw to confirm participation in the OMERS primary pension plan and the retirement compensation agreement for the OMERS primary pension plan, each as amended from time to time, of the employees of the corporation of the Township of Black River Matheson, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 26th day of January 2023.
Yes, Madam Clerk,
If I can, Mr. Mayor, give a bit of a background to members of
Please.
council.
please. I was going to ask.
So council, the municipality is an OMERS employer. So OMERS is the pension plan. So if their plan changes or legislation changes, council must also change their bylaw. So they've recently made changes effective January 1st, 2023 to permit for members of council to participate in their pension plan, should council want to participate in their pension plan, and also to allow for other than continuous full-time employees to also participate in the OMERS pension plan. So this is something you have to offer. And of course, each individual, it's up to them whether or not they want to participate. Council should just recognize that there will be an impact on the budget should people participate because of the employer contribution towards this.
Yes, Councillor DeMarchi.
Can I retire after 4 years?
You could have, but you decided to come back. Any further discussion regarding this or any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. And we'll go to item 10A. Under unfinished business, committees of council and board appointments. Yes, Madam Clerk.
So, Mr. Mayor and members of council, what we did today is we put together a bit of a working document to help you identify and appoint the members. Just because I found that the agenda item became a little convoluted between it hitting the agenda the first time and the second time. So you'll see in the package that was just given to you, what we've done is we've broken it out between all your committees and we'll take it committee by committee. The first row shows your applicants that have applied. The second row shows the member of council that the mayor would like to see on that committee. And then the last row is blank because that's where we will appoint your committee members and your council members. If that makes sense.
And we'll do it committee by committee and just for council's awareness. I actually reviewed all of these and looked at them, and I've spoken to some of the applicants. Because actually the first one we're gonna look at, there's actually more applicants than there is positions. So I've actually spoken to a few people to see who would be quite happy stepping aside or being part of it, being adamant to be part of it, or stepping aside to maybe join a different committee. So we'll make note of this as we go along. And where are we? Oh, here we are. Yeah, so our first item, our first committee is the library board. So we need to have 5 members appointed by municipal council. And we need 1 counselor.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, so it's a 5-member board. So you would need 4 applicants and 1 member of council.
Oh, so it's 4 and 1. Okay,
Yes.
sorry, I thought it was 5. So we only need it, because I seen 5 here, so we only need 4 other.
Well, because because you had proposed Counselor Neil.
Yeah.
But he has to accept in order for him to be
Oh, okay.
appointed.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the reason I proposed Counselor Neil, that was part of my initial discussions. It was a board that he suggested he'd like to be on. And everybody sees the different applicants, like. We can talk to them about it.
Yes,
I speaking to the different people that were interested, I had proposed Kay Pepper, Angeline Bouchard, Margaret Marshall, and Gary Edwards. Based on my previous discussions with some of these and so on and so forth. And at least one of the applicants that's applied for that board, I had spoke to today, and she said she was willing to sit on a different committee. So she was, now I haven't spoken to 2 of these other individuals yet, but based on third like discussions overall, I've been it's been inferred that these other individuals may be satisfied with sitting on a different committee. And if it's okay with council, that's the approach we maybe can take, so we can, because we have a couple of our committees or boards that don't have enough applicants.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I've proposed. And we'll get the clerk to make note of all that again, and then we can put it in the form of a motion. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor Rondo.
I'll read the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, please, Cass.
Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor Rondo, that council appoint the following individuals to the Black River Matheson Library Board. Kay Pepper, Angeline Bouchard, Margaret Marshall, Gary Edwards, and Councillor Neil.
Councillor Neil, you're still fine with that idea?
Yes.
Any questions or concerns from council? No further discussion? Yes, Councillor Markey?
Is Gary Edwards really interested?
Yes. Yes. He actually spends more time at the library than he does in the bush, and that's the only other place he goes. And he's an avid reader, and he loves the library, and he'd actually approached me and asked me when the board was going to be appointed, because he wanted to put his name forward. So I definitely want to see it.
Susan Large would be good on there too.
Yeah, and you know what, if at the end of the day if I get, my own theory is we can appoint these people, and if there's questions or concerns, we can bring it back to council and move some people around, but at least we've got enough to put a board together, which is where we need to be. So if there's any further discussion, if not, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Thank you.
If you flip it, so if you flip the page, the next one should be the museum committee.
This is the one that Councilor DeMarchi was alluding to. Our museum committee, for our museum that's not open and doesn't have a committee. So where was that listed?
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So actually, the only individual that I know has put their name forward, interested in that committee at the moment, that's officially told me they are, is Diane Bush. She wants to be appointed. Actually, Diane has even volunteered to be the curator. She has her curator's license. and was a curator in the past and very passionate about the museum. And I've kind of promised her that I'm gonna beat the bushes and find enough for a committee, although right now, we basically have that one position and I was proposing Councillor Diamond to represent council on that committee, if he will be so willing.
Yeah, if I have a committee.
You got one.
Okay, we got a committee of two now, and I'm actually planning on some of these people that we didn't place onto the library board. I'm actually hoping they'd be willing to sit on there, and I'm going to approach them. So what are we gonna do with this for now?
So what we can do, Mr. Mayor, is we can appoint who you've already mentioned tonight, which is Councillor Diamond and Diane Bush. And following all the rest of the appointments, we'll pass a motion, should council approve, that we continue with the advertising of the committees that are still lacking committee members.
That's suitable to council?
Yes.
We gotta do something with it. So if there's no further discussion. Oh, do we have a mover a second?
No.
I don't. I guess I need that, eh?
Yes.
Need a mover and a seconder again, Councillor Rondo and Councillor Drury.
Can I read the motion?
Yes,
Mr. Mayor?
please. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Rondo, seconded by Councillor Drewer, that council appoint the following individuals to the Black River Matheson Museum Committee, Councillor Diamond and Diane Bush.
No further discussion. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Do that with your second one, On the next one is the Accessibility Committee, which is one that's basically legislated that we have to have this committee. So we need 4 appointed members of the public and 1 appointed member of council. And right now we have basically 0 applicants, correct?
That's right.
And the Accessibility Committee, I think that we did have. Oh, there. There it is, right here.
Councillor Neal.
I think Councillor Neal had indicated he was willing to sit on that committee. So we can put his name on that list, and then after that, we have to find 4 more victims. Yes,
Your
Councillor.
worship, are we allowed to try to recruit people to sit on? it?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
And like Madam Clerk said, at the end of this process, we'll actually pass a motion to allow for advertising, can be as simple as word of mouth advertising, or we'll post some things in some bulletin boards and whatever. And as long as council is okay with it, I'd like to reach out to some of the people that we don't appoint to some of these other boards that they've actually shown interest in. We have a few of these boards where there's more interest than in positions and vice versa, so. We need a mover and a second.
Yes.
Still need a mover and a seconder for this one. Councillor Gattery and Councillor Diamond. Please read the motion.
It was moved by Councillor Gattery, seconded by Councillor Diamond, that council appoint the following individuals to the Black River Matheson Accessibility Advisory Committee. Councillor Neal.
And the rest to be named later. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Next item is Senior Advisory Committee. We require 4 appointed members of the public and 1 appointed member of council. And we only have 1 applicant, Jeanette Lahid. And Councillor Drewer had expressed interest in sitting on that committee. I think she's pretty passionate about seniors. And again, we're short some members, but we'll work on that one. Any further discussion? If not, we can move in a second. Yeah, I was always trying to get ahead of myself. I'm trying to move things along a little bit. Moved by Councillor Drewer and Councillor Gattery.
Moved by Councillor Druer, seconded by Councillor Gattari, that council appoint the following individuals to the Black River Matheson Senior Advisory Committee. Jeanette Lahid and Councillor Druer.
All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Next item is Property Standards Committee. And stated here, the chair of the planning committee will be on this board, this committee. One member of the public, one member of council. And we have two applicants, right? And we only want one of these two, is that correct?
That's correct.
And speaking, and I know both the individuals, and I know they both would like to be here. And be on this committee, but speaking, I would like to see Jason Lindsay appointed.
I agree. I agree.
And
Mr. Rondo.
we had Councilor Rondo to be appointed for that.
Are we not missing one more?
Yes. Madam Clerk.
So the one that the chair of the planning committee, when the planning committee meets and appoints their chair, they'll be told that you automatically have a role now
okay.
on the property standards committee. Sounds good.
All right. Good question. Thank you. I forgot about it too. All those in favor of the motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
you
sorry.
don't move on a
Oh, I
second.
didn't give you a mover and a seconder yet. I'm sorry. I'm trying it really fast. Councilor Rondo and Councilor Jordan.
Moved by Councillor Rondo, seconded by Councillor Jordan, that council appoint the following individuals to the Black River Matheson Property Standards Committee, Jason Lindsay and Councillor Rondo.
All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Next item is our planning committee. We need to have three elected officials.
Mhm.
We need to have three councilors appointed to this. And
So if I can, Mr. Mayor.
yes, please,
Okay.
you just spit it out.
Okay, the terms of reference for council's planning committee speaks to appointing three members of council. The chair and vice chair of the committee of adjustment, or instead of that, two members of the public.
I don't mind sitting on this committee either.
That's not a problem. I think actually that was our planning.
Planning is here.
And we need at least two, if not three councilors, right?
So you need three council members, three elected officials.
So I was gonna suggest Councilor Rondo, Councilor Diamond had expressed interest, and
I have a question.
a question, Councilor Markey, yes.
Yes, I was on the planning committee last term. And there was Bob Brown, Gary Quigley, and Ron Coughlin, and myself. And it was a lady, what's her name?
Kyla?
Kyla, yeah. On that committee. So
You only
there
had
was
two councilors.
and three members of the public.
So if we check the terms of reference, which we all have here tonight,
Doesn't follow our terms of reference. So how did you let that get by you?
You didn't say three council members and two members of the public?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's actually,
That was a good committee too with those three guys, because you know their stuff.
Well, that's seeming back. We should have more.
Mr. Mayor,
We
can I
can't
just
change
look
it.
for the terms of reference? You
Yeah.
can, it's council's terms of reference. We're doing planning,
yes,
your committee structure. The committee shall be composed of 5 members. 3 elected officials as appointed by council, the chair and vice chair of the Committee of Adjustment, or if unavailable, 2 members of the public appointed by council.
So we should be appointing 2 members of public for sure. Now, can we actually change that like now?
Your terms of reference?
Not really.
You can change it this evening.
Or I'm not changing the bylaw.
Yes, you'd have to move a motion to change the terms of reference.
Well, what is the wish of council? Should we follow our terms of reference or does somebody want to? Or do we want to go through the process of modifying our bylaw to allow a change?
I would like to modify it because that was a good committee. Those guys know their stuff.
So what's the process? So, okay, can we actually do this? And no, we
There's
can't
actually
do it.
one missing that was on there too, and that's Mackenzie.
Yeah, he didn't reapply, wasn't it?
So, Counselor, are you thinking of the Committee of Adjustment?
And the planning committee, that were pretty much the same.
Yeah, but we passed 2 new bylaws for both of those committees. And I'm gonna say early last year.
Yeah, I remember something.
And the idea was at some point in the future, we merge them together so that we would only have one committee. I agree, there's some good folks that are on there. So, and if you're gonna add somebody like affect the bylaw, you can just do a resolution, because you have your saving.
Yeah. And I do believe Councillor DeMarco, I think you're speaking about the Committee of Adjustment, because if you flip the page, in the package you have in front of you, your Committee of Adjustment was the 4 members of the public, plus your 2 members of council, which were you and Kyla.
Yeah.
And your 4 members were Mr. Coughlin, Mr. Brown, Mr. Quigley, and Mackenzie.
You have pretty much the same people on both.
Pretty, yeah, we're pretty close to the same with the planning committee and the committee of adjustment. And I was on both of them.
So,
Whatever.
It's the wish of council. I don't know if they want to.
Just saying we have to amend it before we
Yes,
change
yes,
it.
yes.
So did you want us to amend the terms of reference, or should we just move forward tonight with, we'll move forward the way it is? With 3
Not to
councils,
keep them on the committee of adjustment.
and we can still go, we'll have to go with 3 councils. What did we propose? I know Councillor Diamond and Councillor Rondo.
Mhm.
And we needed a 3rd member for the planning.
I'd go on the planning committee and come off of the work review committee.
We can make that change.
Let's make it.
And then we need how many people, members of the public?
Yes.
I think we discussed today it was gonna be Jason and Ron.
I can't remember what you actually didn't determine. You
Okay.
didn't determine.
Oh,
Wait, the planning, sorry.
I'm wondering if this is one person, but I hate to turn down people that have experience and
Mhm.
knowledge, right?
Mhm.
So I proposed that we add Jason Lindsay from the public and Ron Coughlin from the public.
Or
That's what we need, was 2 more,
That's for
correct?
the planning,
Yes.
committee?
That's all we need, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now all we need is a mover and a second. Moved by Councillor Drewer and seconded by Councillor DeMarco.
Moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor DeMarco, that council appoint the following individuals to the Black River Matheson Planning Advisory Committee. Councillor Diamond, Councillor Rondo, Councillor Jason Lindsay, and Ron Coughlin.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Okay. Next item is our committee of adjustment. It says 4 members of the public and 2 members of council.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Since we can switch some bodies around and add some bodies and do some stuff, right? So we need 4 members of the public and 2 members of council, and I proposed Counselor Diamond and Counselor Gadry. For this board, and after that, I had actually, there was actually, one of the applicants for the planning. That had shown, some interest, and I think I should consider that, so Leslie Berry. And who else do we have on there? Nobody had it.
And then.
Ron Coughlin.
Ron to the planning.
We already have him on planning,
We've just appointed Ron to planning.
Yeah. but I think he also would fit there, no? Yeah. he's not there. We'll put Ron on there, Ron Coughlin. And Bob Brown, I guess. Would that be our current members of the public?
No missing one.
Who'd you put in?
And put Bob Brown, Ron Coughlin, and Leslie Berry,
One more.
and Gary Quigley.
Leslie Berry, that's not on the committee of adjustments.
I know there was another applicant in the planning and so on and so forth, where were we? I was just looking back at my notes,
Well,
so why don't we put Gary Quigley in, so that way we have our 4+2. That makes up our committee. And any further discussion on this one? Yes, Councilor Brandon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you repeat those 4 names, please? I got
Yes.
confused.
Well, we need to move in a second or anything. I need to move in a second, Councilor Drewer and Councilor Diamond.
It was moved by Councillor Drewer, seconded by Councillor Diamond. That council appoint the following individuals to the Black River Matheson Committee of Adjustment. Councillor Diamond, Councillor Gaddery, Leslie Berry, Ron Coughlin, Robert Brown, Gary Quigley.
No further discussion, I'll call for a vote, all those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Moving right along. I think it's our last, but not least, depending how you look at it, I guess, our worker bees. Group. And
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could
yes,
just
yes, you
explain.
could, yeah, please.
So the terms of reference for the worker bees speak to 11 members of the public. However, there's representation from the Iroquois Falls Council and the Cochrane Council. They made their appointments already, so that would be Councillor Ben Lefay from the town of Iroquois Falls and Mayor Peter Politis from the town of Cochrane.
And Councillor DeMarchi is withdrawing his name from the worker bees, so is there another councillor who would be willing to put their name forward for the worker bees?
I have a question though.
You ask the question and our clerk will tell you the answer.
If we're removing this from the budget, why are we having why do we have to join the committee for this?
Until the committee is dissolved, we have to. It could disappear.
Okay,
Chris, yes, Chris?
Councilor Rondo, so there's a distinction between the two items.
okay,
The item that Councilor Diamond spoke about is the $20,000 annually the council had given the worker bees.
okay,
And then there's the appointment of the committee, which has a mandate, which isn't necessarily contingent upon the funding.
okay. Thank you.
So now we still need that third counselor, so. We need somebody from here to represent our council on the worker bees.
I have a question.
Yes,
I'm
Councilor.
not, I'm not suggesting.
No, I know you. Councilor Diamond. Councilor Diamond was gonna fall off like that. You made it pretty clear. You made it pretty clear you didn't want to be on that committee.
My question, Mr. Mayor, is. At what point, and further to Councilor Rondo, at what point do I suggest that we do not even create a worker bees committee? Is this the opportunity?
To dissolve the worker bees? Actually, just respectfully, I know speaking to the CAO, he suggested that I should be meeting with the mayor of Iroquois Falls and the mayor of Cochrane to discuss, you know, the viability of this committee. And I know even speaking to the one mayor, I know they had suggested that they were going to give this committee a little bit of time to produce some results or basically say, that's enough. So I think the proper respectable way would be to allow me to at least meet with the two other mayors and have that discussion and bring a report back to council, and then we can see where we're at. Would that be all right?
Yes.
I have
Russ,
another question.
Yes, Counselor.
That'll probably follow with Counselor Diamond. Just like Counselor Diamond was saying, how long do we have to wait before we can? Because in all honesty, Iroquois Falls keeps getting all these doctors, Cochrane keeps getting all these doctors. We're not getting any of it. So what's the use of this community? Is what I'm asking. If Matheson is not benefiting from this working, this committee, why are we on it? Like,
I already raised the concern myself along with your voices. And that's why I'd like to have the discussion with the other two mayors and basically suggest this physician recruiter is a separate line item anyway. Is basic, correct? Well, it's part and parcel of the worker bees terms, but the physician recruiter is still, it's a paid intern.
it is, but I mean, what did she do while she was working? She didn't get us a doctor. We got Dr. Great as part-time. And New York Falls got what, 10 doctors? What are we getting?
I agree that, and I have my own thoughts about what we should be doing instead of this. But at the moment, this is the process that we have,
Mhm.
and I would just respectfully request to give me the opportunity to at least discuss this with Mayor Tory and Mayor Politis. And just to see exactly where their heads are on this, as much as I know what you're saying is, they're gonna say, well, it's doing really well for us, we're
For
happy.
them, yeah,
Yeah,
not for us. It's
but-
doing nothing for
But,
us.
but if I bring that point forward to say, look, how are we gonna make this work for us too? And if we can't come to some kind of a resolution on that, then I think this council has the absolute right to withdraw from that if they wish.
Because to be honest, I think we'd be better off forming our own committee to recruit our own doctors just for Matheson. Because whatever recruitment they're doing is leaving us out.
And
So to me, it's a useless committee.
and I've heard that from at least one other source. But our CEO, Chris, and I've had some significant discussions around this. As a matter of fact, even when we were at Roma, there was some discussion from the Ministry of Health of some different options and so on and so forth. That I think that'll come out in a report at the next meeting, possibly between Chris and I will put together a better report so everybody knows what we are doing in Toronto and any of the information that would be beneficial to council. But I take your points and I consider them seriously. I believe you're both probably correct. But I would just like the opportunity to at least formally meet with the other two mayors and have a discussion around this particular point. And now that you've raised your concerns and your positions, that gives me a position to work with, saying, look, our council is not happy with the status quo, so we need to see where we're going with it. Would that be satisfactory with everybody?
Yes.
No, we still need a council. Or else I have to take it. We don't have a council.
Counselor or mayor.
Would you like to just defer this committee until I've had that meeting?
Mhm.
You know, if that's the direction of council, we haven't even put a motion on the floor yet, so. Do we have to put a motion on the floor to defer this?
We do need a motion to defer, yes.
Okay, so
I would need someone to move with a motion to defer.
I got Dave, Councillor Diamond, and I'm gonna let Councillor Rondo have her name on this one too. They're both pretty passionate about their feelings on this, and I know they aren't the only ones around the table that have the same concerns, but they voiced them very clearly. And we'll just allow our clerk to put a few words down on a piece of paper so that we actually have something that we can actually relate to and formalize. Good training, Andrew. You can be able to handle your tech work, Andrew.
Would have been a good family feud, but everything is.
Can't stay in trouble. I know, after I give her a slam like that, eh? Yeah, but I won't sign it.
Senior committee was.
No, how long this meeting will be, I thought it was ready. Look at that.
Only when.
Thinking on their feet.
Okay.
All right, everyone, I think we're at a point where our clerk has got us organized and has a motion to read. And we already have our mover and a seconder, so Madam Clerk, if you would please proceed.
Moved by Councillor Rondo and seconded by Councillor Diamond, that council postpone the appointment of the Worker Bee Committee to the February 14th regular meeting in order to provide time for Mayor Bender to discuss the committee with Mayor Delorier and Mayor Politis.
Any further discussion on this? All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. Yes, Madam Clerk.
So, Mr. Mayor, now that the appointments or the majority of your appointments are complete, I think it's appropriate that we pass a motion to direct staff to continue advertising for the remaining vacant positions on council's committees. So I just need a mover and a seconder if council agrees.
We have a mover and a seconder, be Councillor Gattery and Councillor Drawer.
Can I read the motion, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor?
please.
Moved by Councillor Gattery, seconded by Councillor Drawer, that council direct staff to continue advertising for the remaining vacant positions of the committees of council.
And just to go along with that, part of our plan is I'm gonna reach out to some of these people that we didn't appoint tonight and see if they'd be willing to fill any of the other positions prior to advertising again. Yes, Councillor Markey.
Through your worship, can we get flyers to put up at the community centers? With regards to the committees that you're looking for.
That's a good suggestion, I think.
Maybe even post them at those bulletin boards at the mailboxes there and like Paul Fire Raymore, all those. On there.
We'll wait for the staff to put something
Yeah.
together and provide it. Any other discussion regarding the motion? I see none. All those in favor? Seeing no objections, carried. So that looks after our board. This is my copy to keep.
Yes,
So I can actually work with it.
yes.
I'd like to apologize for those in attendance regarding our items regarding the municipal drain work. Our engineer, for some reason, disappeared, didn't show up, so we can't actually entertain those items tonight without the engineer's report. So these items will be moved forward to the 14th, February 14th meeting. And our sincere apologies on behalf of the municipality for taking your time, but we will deal with it, and it will be it'll be looked after, and unless something else happens, it'll be February the 14th, correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
So now we're gonna have to bring those. And a mover and a seconder to go into the closed section. I got Councillor Gattery and Councillor Rondo.
I'll read the motion, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Moved by Councillor Gattery, seconded by Councillor Rondo. That council now comes into a portion of the meeting that shall be closed to the public at 8:23 p.m. In accordance with section 239 subsection 2, clause B of the Municipal Act, in order to discuss a personal matter about an identifiable individual regarding indemnification of staff and potential legal expenses.